And how do we solve it? Well, ideally, we would do immigration reform. We would have, rights for people. They would understand their rights, and they would have all of that. But it is such a bad scenario that I can't even tell you I see the light at the end of the tunnel, But at the very least now, they have gotten those services. They have had the opportunity to sit across the table from me, and I have been able to give them some hope. There's so many questions.
There are no questions. And remember, both these individuals have separate workshops as well. So if there's a question you can't get to today. So here in the front.
I was going to ask Gladys, what can you tell us, if anything, about what kind of support, if any, the non-immigrant population in O'Neill has provided to those that have been involved with this race? Have they stood up for them?
Well, it's interesting because, and I'll stand up for my back row, but it's interesting because I have a whole slide on that during my workshop, and it's called Nebraska Nice. Okay, just because O'Neill did show up. O'Neill, the day that I went, they had a march. Okay, and then after that, they did. The First United Methodist Church has given us their space. They have done weekly food pantries, raised up more than $30,000, paid rent and utilities, and for the first month at the very least, and now we're looking at the second month. I've done a resource fair. I mean, and the group that has done all of that is called O'Neill Cares Coalition, and there was no O'Neill Cares Coalition until August 8th. So, yes, they have. Believe me, either half or 3/4 of the O'Neill community is against all of it. So we do need support from the outside for us as our communities.
Good question. So over here to the left.
It is very difficult to tell who's married to who. And whether, if there is a husband that works at Tyson, why they're not paying insurance for it. I used to sit in the Lexington office with my mother waiting to get in, and there were numerous people, and they would go right on through because they were on Medicare, and yet they supposedly had husbands that were working. So I asked the nurses, she said, we're so busy we can't even worry about that because they're doing their job. And I just think, hey, they need to own up if they're married and if they've got insurance.
What's interesting about that is we have bad apples everywhere. Okay, so I just want you to know that there are white people doing exactly the same thing that you're referring to.
Here.
And I was Sweden, right? So we're showing, the interesting scenario, right, of Latino people abusing the system and us seeing it a certain way in a clinic. I can't explain to you why they didn't get married, and I can't explain to you why they didn't choose insurance. I can't do a personal interview with that person. But there's plenty of bad people everywhere, and if we choose to focus on them, then unfortunately we're not going to get anywhere, right? We have to choose to fight the fight, and then, because I'm here for immigrants, but I'm also not here for rapists, right? So I think there's that difference that people tell me, well, Gladys, there's rapists, there are immigrants. And I'm like, well, I'm not here for them. Yeah. I'm here for the good ones. I'm here for the ones that keep fighting. I'm here for the ones that work, that want that insurance, that want a household, that want education. So I'm here for them. I'm not here for the bad apples. And I'm not here for the white bad apples either, right?
One last question, then we all have to eat some lunch. So, Mark.
I was just wondering if the people who hired the people in O'Neill and other cities, if the people that hire them, if the people who own those businesses, especially if they're privately owned businesses, or even if they're corporate businesses, if those people were prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law for doing the illegal hiring, do you think that the immigration laws in this country would be changed faster if our county prosecutors would prosecute them like they're prosecuting and helping ICE?
I don't know the answer to your question, because I could tell you a scenario and maybe it doesn't work. They have been indicted, the individuals that have abused our immigrant friends, but it hasn't gotten to that point yet that I can say yes, they have gotten the full extent of what they should be seeking. At this moment, we're not there yet, and I don't foresee it until years from now to find out the real answer for that. It is unfortunate because they did go for specific people and specific companies, but they took their time and grabbed everybody else that was there. So there was indictments for employers, and that is their reasoning why they were there. But they took a lot of other people there. And Brian, do you want to make a comment?
I just want to say, since I've worked with some of the families in O'Neill, that even though the gentleman was exploiting these workers, he technically, in some cases, we're helping them because the system has failed them. So some of them don't have Social Security numbers, some of them didn't have a job, some of them weren't able to send money back home, and some of them weren't able to cash their checks, and he was doing things illegal. But he was targeted because this is happening everywhere else. This is going on tons of other places. And really, we should focus more on improving work visa situations that people can come work. And those families that we met, many of them would be dead or somewhere else other than Nebraska, because the family that we gave a ride back home and reunited their family, his dad had been in the war and had shrapnel inside his body. They have no health care. They never file a tax return. They get no income tax credit for their children. They're paying into the system much more than any of the rest of us, and they're working jobs that nobody else wants to work. They're harvesting 250,000 pounds of tomatoes in 1 week at the tomato plant, or at the potato plant, and the day after that they lost nearly 60 employees at the tomato plant, there's no line of Caucasian people outside of the factory waiting to get those jobs. There's no line at the meatpacking plants of white people demanding the jobs be given to them. They're not. So the work visa program is, and really, ultimately what people in this room can do is that there are hundreds and thousands of people who want to become citizens of the United States, and they would love a tutor to help them pass the citizenship test. And they would love someone to help them, tutor them to learn to speak English so they can become a part of our communities. And we are desperate. We are in a shortage for tutors. And we're in a desperate situation of someone who's bilingual that can tutor as well. So everyone in this room, it would behoove you to learn Spanish, because they are the future. They are the future of Nebraska. In Grand Island, Nebraska, nearly 56% of the ground public schools is non-white. And they are some of the most brightest, most intelligent. UNK University has a disproportionate number of Hispanic students. They want tech jobs. They don't want to work in these meatpacking plants for the rest of their lives. Just like my immigrant family did not want to work in a meatpacking plant for the rest of their lives. And we go through this every decade of someone switching out. Now we have a Somalian and a Sudanese population who came from war-torn countries, now coming here taking jobs that nobody else wants. And if you ask them directly, do you want to work in this meatpacking plant for the rest of their life? No. Some of them have college degrees, chemical engineering. They don't want to be in this meatpacking plant for the rest of their lives. They want better opportunities for their kids, and they're going to do anything, whether it's getting my check cashed illegally, whether it's making a deal with this guy to go to only his grocery store, to go to only his restaurant, to get my wire transfer to my family back in Guatemala or Honduras or whatever, so I can build a house so that when I'm done working here, I don't have any Medicare, I don't have any retirement, I have no Social Security, and they're going to get a bus ticket, and they're going to go to the border, and then they're going to get on the first car, and come back to their home where they built a house that wasn't a shack when they left. And that's the future of Nebraska, and that's what Nebraska has been for the last 160 years of immigrants coming here.
All right. Excellent. Very good. Very good. I think, Brian, it's a great spot to end this part of the conference. Lunch is next, and that's begins at 1 o'clock. We're already past that time. And the banquet room is to my left here. So thank you to Christian and to Gladys, and thank you all for your attention.